Are you
Not at all.
gonna
Yeah.
are you gonna pull a resurrect your stream just to play through once thing again?
Probably not.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I love Noah's ability to fuck up a softball unlike anything else.
That person would stand out more awkwardly than a person who just talks normally and is hanging out as part of the Ren Fair, right?
Y'all ever listen to Bowling for Soup?
Not extensively, but more than most, I would say.
I've been getting back into them recently. They were
Yeah, I played GameCube games.
real big in my rotation back in like 2015-16, and I kind of abandoned them for a really long time. But now I don't know, I'm getting back into them, and I'm not gonna lie, I think they're massively slept on, while also being like really popular. You know what I mean?
I missed who we were talking about. I was zoned out for the first like 2 seconds, and now I'm feeling very lost.
Bowling for Soup. They're the
Bowling for
ones that
Soup.
did
Oh
1985 and a few other songs.
Yeah. Didn't
They also did the soundtrack for Phineas and Ferb.
I was gonna say I definitely
true.
yeah. Okay. They definitely have never been in my rotation, but I know of them enough to be like, yeah, they're fine.
I definitely don't have bad opinions of them, but I don't really have opinions of them. if I'm being
Exactly.
honest.
That's exactly how I feel. Like it.
That's
Other
kinda
than like
like-
when they were on the GameCube.
When they were on what?
The GameCube, which was surprisingly a lot.
Why were they on the GameCube?
Like a lot of GameCube games had Bowling for Soup in the soundtrack, and I can't really tell you why. Obviously, because it was family friendly and around the right time.
Which is funny because a lot of their stuff is distinctly not family friendly, if we're being honest.
Yeah, they don't
They
feel
had
like
a
a
very
family-friendly band.
friendly reputation. No, they had a very family friendly reputation. It's kind of like Smash Mouth, where like everyone's like, yeah, Smash Mouth, a family band, but then half their songs are like, I love crack, and you're like, oh.
That's true. That is a lot of their songs.
They're always talking about how much they love crack.
Because I think they just really like cocaine. I don't.
Whoa.
Well,
More,
like, should we be
more
worried?
crack guys, but
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to them yesterday and was getting super nostalgic, and I listened to them during my driving today. It's been it's nice to make a return, you know?
Yeah, of course. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of refinding bands that you've like thought you had maybe not lost, but definitely hadn't like been up to date on in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of made me want to go through my old because I've made a new playlist every year since 2015 of just like songs that I enjoyed that year,
Mhm.
and I've found that it was a cool way to just keep track of what I cared about,
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't know,
almost
it
like
makes me
almost
wanna
like a little
revisit a
time
bunch of
capsule
them.
kind of thing for yourself.
yeah, it's just a nice way to I don't know, keep in touch with my roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely have never like I have a playlist that is like it's just called me.
Mhm.
And I slowly added that over time. But I definitely don't do it often enough for it to be like a yearly thing. Like each year would have like 1 or 2 tracks on it.
Oh yeah. No, I would heavily recommend trying to make an effort to make a playlist even if there's overlap because I only recently added the personal rule of no overlapping songs between years because,
Interesting.
just trying to make sure that I keep it as fresh as I can. That also kind of forces me to like listen to more music too, which is always fun. Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, Jackson, how are you past 7?
what did I do?
I don't know. What did you do?
You know, I'm trying to recap here. Trying to walk a mile back. Not much. I got some new coffee stuff, but that's about all the excitement.
Well, that's fun, but yeah, I guess not something exactly to talk about as much.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to just go into it for like 10 minutes and everyone's gonna be like, boo.
Jackson talking about his
This
cool
guy
interest. Get him out of
stinks.
here. Boo, shut up, Jackson. Boo.
Yeah, hit him with a wrench. I feel like we need to go back to hitting people with wrenches more,
Honestly,
in
times were
general,
better
or, like,
back when
for
we hit
specific-
people
for
with
being
wrenches.
Wow, that really, like, both had an opinion on that at the same time, huh?
Yeah. Back when people drank from the hose and hit people with wrenches. It's
Yeah,
honestly, it's
I
kind
drank
of
from
like
the
the good
hose,
times.
and I turned out great. Yeah, what's up with the drink from the hose thing? Like, why are people so set on that?
I think it's
Like,
because
people
at
still
some
drink from the
point
hose.
it was advised that you stop drinking from hoses. So people were
I mean-
obviously like, back in my day, we drank from the hose and we were fine. So
Well, clearly, if you were fine, that means it's safe for everybody. Like that's how
It
it
sounds like
works.
they were fine, so
I don't know why
Why
everyone's
can't
so
everyone do it?
confused about this. They were fine.
It's also one of those things where like some doctor was probably like, "Hey guys, don't drink from a hose." They've probably been saying that forever. It's just like it's on. Like you're just putting your mouth all over the dirt, or just spraying the dirt into your mouth. Like it's just
Mhm.
not that clean of
Yeah, it's
water.
definitely not a
But it's
healthy thing to do.
fine.
But
Yeah, like it's
you're
not like
fine.
you're.
Exactly.
Hmm. I think if we're being honest, the bigger part is just the rubber of the hose. I think that's why people are generally advised to not do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, hot rubber all day. Probably not BPA free.
I
All right,
mean,
everybody.
only a moron would drink the hot water from the hose. Real hose
Okay.
heads, real hose heads know. You let that run first. Mm.
Ooh, what a fake hose drinker.
A hoser even.
Whoa, Dan, you can't say that.
Oh, damn
No, you
it.
can say it. You can and you should.
Never mind, I
can't,
take
and
it
I'm tired
back.
of pretending I can't.
Dan, how was your past 7? How was the Renn Fair?
It was very good.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to hear about that.
It was my first time. It was an absolute blast. Some of the most fun I had in a while. I spent way too much money, but I mean, it was one of those things where like I knew I was going to spend a bunch of money going in, so it really wasn't like a big deal. But I spent way too much money regardless. Had some
Mhm.
mead, which was great. I haven't had mead in a very, very long time.
Mead is always a good time.
Bought a sword. That was cool.
Is it a cool sword or is it a? Well, it's kind of a
a-
cool sword.
It's not a fantasy sword, if that's the question you're asking. It's like a very normal
That's
hand and a
cooler.
half.
So a cool sword.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool sword. It's on
I mean,
my.
could you find it at a truck stop? Because truck
No.
stop swords go the hardest.
No, absolutely could not find this at a truck stop. It is very slightly too well made for that. Not by much, but definitely too well made for that.
No, truck stop swords are the best. I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Right.
you know it's a good truck stop when you walk in and they've just got like a rack of knives.
That's true.
And like none of them are normal. Like you can't buy a pocket knife, but you can buy like a gauntlet with 6 blades on it. That's a truck stop.
When
Real truckers.
only real truckers know.
It's a Teamster thing.
I hate this. I hate it so much.
Jimmy Hoffa is actually still alive. And he's making gauntlets for truck stops.
This is what I didn't realize I needed in my life.
It's the deep lore. People are always asking like what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. Well, how about you take a seat and we'll tell you the real story.
The story that the elite don't
He
want
just
you to
kind
know.
of ran away. Yeah, he went to Michigan. Teamsters never look in Michigan, so that's why they never found him.
It's so sad.
Henry Ford made sure no union work would ever succeed there, so he thought no one would ever. He figured nobody would look for him in Michigan, and yeah, he took up making knives and he sells them to truck stops.
Man, I really like it. Okay, so this is one of those things, right, where I land very firmly in the man. I really like a thing. Too bad it's been ruined by people who are just the fucking worst. The swords and knives are so goddamn cool, and I feel like, but I don't want to be like a sword or knife guy. Like, you know,
Oh,
like
Tell me
no,
that Jimmy
no.
Hoffa's the worst.
yeah, a little bit. That's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. You got
I
me.
mean, that's fair, you know. If he's doing that, then yeah, I get it.
Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where like certain clothing styles, I'm like, damn, that would be great if it wasn't ruined by other people.
Like
Uh,
what?
I don't know. I feel like there are quite a few. I feel like
No, like what's a clothing style that you think is the coolest but the worst? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think of people who are the worst. When I think like, oh, the worst kind of people are the ones who have swords, I'm thinking people who don't wear cool clothes.
that's true. That's true.
So like, what cool clothes have they
I
taken? 'Cause if you say fedora
I
or trench
think
coat,
that there is a time and a place wherein trench coats are objectively very cool.
oh, get this guy! Everybody get this guy.
Listen, I'm not gonna listen.
Kick his
I
ass.
think the original purpose of them makes a ton of sense. They are a long coat that is designed so that if you're wearing a full suit, you do not get your suit wet. I think that is a great thing, and I think in that context, they look great. I think the problem is that when you wear them with your t-shirt and fucking cargo shorts.
I think anyone wearing cargo shorts is cooler than anyone wearing a suit.
That
And yes,
is-
I've seen Mad Men.
That I was gonna say that is very, very firmly a disagreement point, but I also am not going to argue with it. Coolness is in the eye of the people who think that you're cool, as we all know. Very famous quote.
It's true.
See, I was
Coolness
just
is
gonna.
in the eye
Actually,
of
it's
the
up to
cool.
me.
I was just
Coolness
gonna
is in the
say-
eye of me.
Yeah, it's true. Here I was about to
So,
bring up the fact that my boss wears a trench coat in the winter because he wears a full suit.
Exactly.
But now I feel like that's a weird thing to say.
No, I think that is exactly the time and place to wear a fucking trench coat. I think that it is a very normal thing to wear a suit with a trench coat. That is literally that's the purpose of the piece of outerwear.
This guy just called a coat outerwear. I don't know if I can be
This
here.
guy called it outerwear.
Well, what else would you call it?
Underwear if you're strong.
It's
You
true.
believe in yourself. Yeah, I do love the idea of somebody wearing wearing a trench coat underneath his suit. That would be very cool. That guy,
It would be
definitely
very
cool.
cool.
That's very good. I like that a lot. But yeah, I
It's
don't
just
know.
like the puffiest looking suit you've ever seen. It's like someone took the Stop Making Sense suit from Talking Heads, except it's actually filled with something. Oh, it's awful.
It's
And
not
we've talked
good.
about Renn fairs before here on the podcast. And Dan, you hadn't been to one at the time.
Correct.
What do you think now?
I
Also,
think
what did we think before? I don't remember.
I don't remember what we thought before. I'll be honest. I think that Ren Fair. I think Ren Fair was a great time. I enjoyed it very, very much. I think that there is a certain like interesting overlap of types of people that show up at Ren Fairs. In as much as like if you're going to a Ren Fair, there's a certain amount of I have to be comfortable with being just the biggest dork, right?
Yeah.
Because like there's just a certain amount of like nerdy confidence I think that comes with it, right? So everyone there is endlessly funny. Everyone there is almost everyone is very charismatic, even if not like that's not to say that everyone there is attractive, but everyone is very charismatic. I feel like because I feel like the people who go there who are shitty and gross and like the kind of people that you're like ew gross don't like oh man fucking Jerry goes to a Ren Fair in full plate mail and will only speak in thy and thous. Like those people get laughed out. I feel like because everyone's
Ren
kind of aware
fairs?
that the whole thing is very silly.
I don't think people
Um,
laugh at people that do that at Ren fairs.
I think that that person would stand out more awkwardly than a person who just talks normally and is hanging out as part of the Ren Fair, right? Like there are people who do that who I have met through other people, not friends of mine, but friends of friends, who are very like elitist about their I've got my fancy Ren Fair get up, and I feel like that's not the kind of like thing I went to. Like if you're gonna do that, go to the fucking whatever the fucking thing is called, the reenactment, medieval reenactment society or whatever it's called. But yeah, everyone was very cool. Everyone was very chill. Nobody was literally the only complaint I had was that everything was so goddamn expensive.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
going to like a convention where you're like, these things are expensive, and some of them are cool, but most of them aren't that cool.
Exactly. Well, and like I really wanted to get I almost got a cloak too while I was there because I actually really like the felt like nice fabric cloak. It was like a lined piece of fucking cloak fabric, and I really liked it. And I almost got it, but I literally had to make the choice between buying the very expensive sword that I'm not going to out myself with how much I spent on it, or I could have gotten a cloak. Like it was a one or the other kind of situation. Like that's the expense that it was looking at, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of how expensive some of these things tend to be.
Yeah, no, I can get that.
But I
Flip
also
side,
understand
though-
that for the go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, relatively, especially comparatively, inexpensive to make your own cloak. Not that
True.
obviously, first things first, you need to have like a sewing machine and sewing knowledge and skills and everything like that. But most likely, if it's not just the Ren Fair bug making you want a cloak, you probably have a friend or two who sews professionally that you could be like, "Hey,
I do,
what's
and
up?"
actually, I do own a cloak that no longer that like is too small for me now. That I probably could just get them to resize that and be done with it. But
What
yeah,
do you
I
do
don't
with
know.
the cloak?
Isn't
I
a
enjoyed it
cloak
quite a
more of
bit.
just a giant blanket?
Yeah, it is. Most cloaks are basically just giant blankets. That is correct.
Because I feel like if you really want to get into it, you just need a giant blanket and then get one of those sick ass pins.
The pins are sick. I agree.
Because
Like
I-
that is objectively the sickest thing.
Every now and then I get on fantasy TikTok, and one of the things I saw was someone wearing a cloak in like 6 different ways, with one of those cool little pins. Because
Pins are
firstly,
cool.
pins, a dope fashion accessory.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
secondly, just watching this person be like, "Yeah, here it is. It has a hood now, and that's cool." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. The cloak has a hood." And then they're like, "Ah, you thought that was neat, but what about this where it's just a big sash?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Sashes are cool." And they're like,
Sashes are
Noah,
"Ah,
do you
cool.
know any
but did
cool
you know
pins?
that this sash is also a big carrying thing, and we can use this to carry fruits and vegetables and seeds and stuff?" And I'm like, "Wow, that's so cool."
Yeah, dude. Cloaks are a very
Do you know of any
versatile
cool pins?
fashion.
Yeah,
statement.
cloaks are a very versatile fashion if you're Aragorn. Like, it's 2021, man. Just get a fucking backpack.
Listen, dude. I am
No, that
firmly
is
in the camp that
problem.
that capes and cloaks should be a more common fashion accessory in the modern day.
Yeah, of course you
100%.
are.
Of course I am. Listen, I know where I
So,
stand.
like,
Okay,
Yeah, but like,
I'm not saying I'm right.
you
I'm just saying
actually
I
think
believe
that?
it. Like I'm
'Cause,
okay
like,
with being wrong
imagine
in
if
this sense.
imagine if like cloaks were normal and like
Awesome.
it was just fucking like a politician. Like,
That would be-
yes, we're about to commit war crimes, and they also have a cloak on.
Yeah, would that not make it more appropriate? At least then you'd know.
No.
You know, it would feel more right for me.
Why?
Because if they're gonna be evil, the least they can do is look more evil.
I thought, do cloaks make you look evil though?
They can.
I think cloaks just make you look a little bit mysterious or slightly warm.
It can be both. Things can be multiple things.
I don't know if they make you evil. I think maybe
they
the
really
right
don't
kind
make
of
you
cloak can
evil.
do it. If you're well, obviously they don't make you evil. It's not like they're not like cursed items here. But like I feel like a cloak doesn't necessarily make someone look more evil. But I guess if they're doing it in a way that like they're like, oh, if they're wearing the cloak in an evil way,
Yeah, exactly.
which I don't have to explain because if you heard me say that, you understand probably.
Exactly. You understand exactly what that looks like.
There's an evil way to wear clothes.
Mhm.
Like those jeans with the back pockets on the front.
Exactly.
What?
That's evil clothing.
I've
It's like
never
a fashion
heard of
style
that.
thing.
I hate
It was
that.
kind of big in like the 80s, 90s, and then it came back again fairly recently.
Oh, I hate that so
And
much.
they're basically jeans that are made backwards, and they like fit better than actual jeans would backwards. So like they're actually usable, but they're basically just backward jeans.
Ew.
Also very expensive.
Oh yeah, no. I would riot if they weren't super expensive. I wouldn't do that.
I was gonna
I
say,
just-
really?
I can't be bothered.
Fashion is one of those things where I really do truly wish I understood better. Like it very much is like a thing that I don't understand fashion even in the slight, like not even a little bit. But I wish I did. I think it would be very cool to be like at least tangentially aware of that like world.
Well, I don't think that
You're getting really loud there.
I don't think that I agree with that because the fashion world sucks.
That's
Like,
fair.
a
That's
lot.
very fair. People do suck.
Yeah, the fashion world's a lot like high fashion is a lot like high art in that after a certain point, it just starts to like Ouroboros jerk itself off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very fair.
Where like when people are like, "Yeah, I'm an artist," I'm like, "That's pretty cool." But then when they're like, "Yeah, I make high art," you're like, "No,
No,
unless
you
you're
were
talking
cool.
about being a stoner, I'm not interested." Am I right, everybody?
Oh.
Oh,
I get it. High art. See it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because there's multiple meanings to high art.
yeah, because
He could have meant
people
like
when you
conventional high art, or he could have meant
Uh-huh.
I
weed.
can't believe we're one of those shows.
I'm really glad that Noah explained that.
Yeah, no problem. My favorite
people
thing
were
to do is help
asking,
explain jokes.
where do I find this? And now we know.
You know, I feel like we got to talk about it because we were talking about it before the show a little bit.
Oh no.
Homestucks and Undertales are back.
I was wondering when
And
we were
I
gonna
just
bring
want to
this one up.
say,
I did wonder
after years of trying my hardest to convince these people, mostly Dan, because Noah kind of jumped on board after like the fifth time I said it because I think his brain was starting to rot. Dan has finally come around to calling things Homestucks or Undertales because someone that's not me talked about it.
Yeah, that's very fair. That is
And I just want to say that just
fair.
proves me more right.
I'm fine with it. That's fine.
So Dan has officially entered the realm. and he's been sipping the
I
nectar.
definitely agreed with you on calling things Undertales before. What are you talking about? Hold on.
Yeah, but you agreed with me, I think, to get me to shut up, but I don't know that you like conceptually got behind the
No,
idea.
I understood the concept. I agreed with it.
No,
Hold
not
on.
understood, but got behind it.
There is a difference, yeah. I'm with him on this
feel
one.
like I did, but I also like that was the past me, and I don't want to like dismiss how you felt about it.
Oh, I mean, I don't like feel strongly in a way that matters about it.
It's fair.
So you can just tell me I'm not telling the truth. It's fine. I
You
don't
are a
remember at
dirty
this point.
fucking liar, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's fine. Because like the thing is, like I don't remember what I do ever. That's the thing. Sometimes people will
mood.
be like, "Hey, man, remember when you said this?" Especially when people say, "Hey, man, on the podcast you said this." I'm like, I don't
Dude,
know
the second
that.
we end an episode, my brain completely purges every reference to the podcast.
I literally just become the guy who doesn't know how to drive. They're like, "That's your horn." I don't know that, do I? It's literally just me.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel that a lot.
mood.
They're like, "You said that on the podcast." I'm like, "Well, I don't know that, do I?" I'm just not I'm just not that smart.
Yeah.
Every now and then, I'll be like editing the episodes, and for the most part, things will come back to me as I'm listening through it, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't have that terrible a memory, but I also don't remember any of it as it's coming up for the most part. But then sometimes I'm listening back to the podcast, and not only do you guys say things I don't remember, I say things I don't remember, and
It's
that
a
throws
very
me off in a
surreal
big way.
experience.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll hear myself saying something, or someone will start saying something I said in the past, and I'll be like, "Man, this guy's right," and I'm like, "Wait, that guy's me." Because like sometimes I won't remember a take I had, and then like I'll hear like the podcast, and I'll just be like, "To enter the realm, you must drink of the nectar." I'm like, "Yeah, he's onto something."
You know what? He's right.
I
And
was
we
like, "Believe it
should
or not,
say
I
it.
think I agree with me."
BRB, I'm
And I
about to
think that
just pitch
speaks.
shift Jackson's voice so it's not him anymore and see how long I can get him to agree with this random guy.
I mean, I think it's like mostly it's a combination of the fact that like wait, I lost my train of thought there because there was a fly buzzing around my face.
That's fair.
Something about listening to myself though. I'm right. That's it.
Yeah, you are right,
So
Jackson. You are
let's
right.
talk
Thank
about
you.
a Homestuck right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought about it a lot. I thought about it a lot on the way home
that's
because
sad.
I was very firmly in the camp that a Homestuck and an Undertale are an almost 100% overlap Venn diagram, but I don't think they were full overlaps. But
And then you Jackson started talking, you're like, damn, no, Jackson was right.
well, no, that is the problem, is that he
Yeah!
underlined the point of his main core belief is
That's the
that
thing, right?
people who like it suck and you don't want to talk to them, but they make everything about whatever property they're obsessed with. And I'm like, oh.
If that's your criteria,
Mm.
then I am 100% on board, right? If
Yeah,
that is
and that is my
if
criteria.
that is your criteria,
It's-
then yeah, they are the same thing.
It's
I
just like
I think that
I
there's
think
enough of a difference, like on a broader sense. But if that is your like that is what your criteria is, 100% agree they're the exact same thing.
Like,
I think that's why it's kind of like I think if your criteria is Homestuck is something that's like Homestuck, I think you're kind of losing the baseline that I'm setting up here when I think about it, which is just like I call them all like Homestuck is an Undertale, and you might be like, but actually Homestuck came first, and actually Toby Fox did a song. I'm like, I don't give a shit, and the fact that you're trying to make me give a shit means that that's an Undertale.
And see, I'm firmly in the I firmly am of the opinion that a Undertale is a Homestuck that's trying to make a
Yeah.
point. That's literally the only that's my
which is why
my
I will
criteria
say,
shift.
Dan, by your own criteria, Star Wars is an Undertale and not a Homestuck.
all I just said all, but I said as I said earlier, all Homestucks or all Undertales are Homestucks. But I agree with you.
That's
Star
cool,
Wars
but
definitely
it's
does
It's
try
kind
to
of
make a
hard to
point.
make that your criteria though, because after a point, when do you get to decide whether or not a media is trying to tell you something? Because most everything created, especially for consumption, is trying to tell you something. It depends on how preachy they're getting, which is important, I guess. But also, most of them get pretty preachy about it, depending on what perspective you're watching the show from
That's
or
fair.
reading the webcomic. And that's why I think that at the baseline, I just categorize them all the same. And it doesn't matter about timeline necessarily. Like Star Wars, also an Undertale.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what came first
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
just like that's my ground zero. That's my that's my baseline. That's where I'm like starting from. I'm like, this is an Undertale. Things made before it doesn't reset my category. It's just like, yeah, that falls into
That
the
also
category.
is still. I get that.
So my super category could be boiled down to something maybe more similar, but I feel like trying to describe it makes it more complicated and only leaves people to the confusion that's like, well, what's a Homestuck then? You're like, well, an Undertale's a Homestuck, and a Homestuck's an Undertale. They're the same thing. I just have a different baseline because Undertale was the one that I was familiarized with this concept through.
Not unreasonable. Not unreasonable. I think I do agree with you on some level that it is very much like just which one we interacted with first. Like I distinctly interacted with Homestuck a lot before I interacted with Undertale. So like that very much could be part of the reason that I'm like, but they're definitely different. But I think that we are in agreement that many things are either Homestucks or Undertales that are.
Yeah, I just
popular.
usually call them Undertales, and I think you would lean more towards Homestucks.
Yeah.
But like I think the category is identical,
I-
or at least very, very similar.
I agree. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think the category is
And since
extremely
it's not
fucking
like-
similar to the point
and there's no way to
where it
measure it.
almost doesn't matter which one you call it.
And that's why I would say it doesn't matter at all, because like there's no empirical way to be like how Undertale is
How
this.
Undertale
It's
versus
just-
how much
it's just
Homestuck.
like-
BRB,
it's like, yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna go
it's
make a
Undertale.
spreadsheet detailing the exact layer of difference.
And like I guess the question kind of can go on beyond just what makes an Undertale or Homestuck. It becomes like, just, is that an Undertale? Whereas like, I think the biggest Undertale that is the most nebulous.
The greatest trick
Is,
Undertale ever pulled.
Yeah, it was believing that it was important.
Yes.
No, it's actually I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the most nebulous Undertale. Because people who like it will bring it up all the time, and if you're like, I don't really want you to bring this up all the time, everybody in the room is like, boo. So it's like, it's not really an Undertale because people want to hear about it. But to me, it's an Undertale because I don't care and people force me to listen to it.
And I think that's the only other gripe I have with yours.
And if I say I don't like it, I get told I'm like, like, oh, you're a fun killer, or like, oh, come on, people can enjoy things. No, they can't. You kidding me? People cannot enjoy things.
It's true.
Hate that shit. Stop it.
Stop enjoying things, frankly.
Yeah, I hate it when someone's like, I like this thing. I'm like, no, you gotta not do that.
That's illegal. Wait a minute, that's illegal.
Yeah, like, no, can you do that? Is that even legal?
Please don't.
You know what? Let me flip a coin.
Oh,
bad news.
Bad news for who?
Oh man, I
Bad
can't
news
believe
for
Noah's
who?
just turned into Two-Face.
Bad news for who?
You know what? I didn't assign that to the coin. Let me go again.
What do you mean you didn't assign one to the
God.
coin?
I just chose whether I was going to say good news or bad news.
Why is Noah heading towards the canceling?
What were you? You were flipping a coin on what you were gonna say, not whether or not you were gonna say what was supposed to, what I had to ask you to say.
I was tuned out. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Oh my
Is
god.
that even legal?
Noah.
I love Noah's ability to fuck up a softball unlike anything else. It's unparalleled.
It's
Nobody
honestly
can
impressive.
take-
It would be impressive if it wasn't vaguely concerning.
Yeah, like earlier when he was talking about the cloaks, and I was like, "Hey Noah, where else are cool pins available?" Nothing. Radio silence as this man is just sitting on a box of branded pins. It's fine.
You guys,
Oh my
we have fun
gosh.
here.
On that note, since Jackson brought that one back for us, we have off the air branded pins. All patrons, reach out to me. We decided patrons are getting free pins. Anyone else who wants them, also reach out to me, and
Lots
we'll
of
make
very
a deal.
good. We'll just send it to you.
Oh.
So yeah, that's an added incentive to, if you're not a patron, you can add us. Add us. How do you Patreon us? You pay us.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Join. Become a part.
What a podcast.
What
an episode this is.
organizational centric language should we use?
Patronize us.
Yeah, patronize
People
us.
People should
Technically
patronize us.
true.
Yeah, patronize us. I've been doing it to Dan for years, so now
True.
you have the chance to do it to all three of us at once.
It's true.
Oh my.
And if you go on the Patreon, we'll get you a little pin as you're part of the club.
Part of the cool kids club, if you will.
Where you're part of the like the subscription club. I don't know. What's the Patreon? What's the off the air kids club?
You know what?
OTACC?
That's a great section question.
That is
I
a
think
great
off the air
section.
kids club.
I don't like Off the Air Kids Club,
Why?
although OTAKC is a really fun string of words to say.
It sounds like a government organization. But also
Hello,
any
I'm with the
acronym with-
OTAKC.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing like any government organization with more than like 4 letters in the acronym. I'm like, yeah, you're not as important as you think you are.
True.
That's also true.
If you have more, if you aren't 3 letters, we don't care about you.
NASA.
I know
What
what I
about OSHA?
Well, we definitely
We
don't care
love
about
OSHA.
OSHA.
Yo, that reminds me. Did you see there's the one Republican congressman or senator who's like, I'm going to push a bill to defund OSHA?
He's like, I'm sick of being told how I can and can't operate this forklift.
I think it has something to do with the vaccine mandate and how OSHA says that that's not a violation of workplace safety.
That's so
But-
funny.
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
shit, people are like, actually, the fact that you want me to get a vaccine, that's a violation of workplace safety.
Yeah, 100%.
I just love like the desperate like clinging to different government entities in an anti-government based
manner.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're like, I hate the government so much. I need OSHA to respect my opinion. It's
Yeah.
fair.
It's
I
very
also
good.
need OSHA to respect my opinion. You think OSHA is an Undertale?
I don't think
I'm
so.
always like, I
Let's
don't
see.
care.
Hold
And
on.
you're like, you
Well,
can't use a ladder that
let's
way.
break that down. Large and basically incomprehensible. Yeah. Makes me angry when people talk about it. Yeah. No, I think it might be an Undertale.
That's not just what Undertale is. It's also that it makes you angry when people talk about it, and they talk about it unprompted, which is why OSHA's an Undertale, because I didn't ask if I could use a ladder this way. I don't
That
care.
is true.
But you act like I have to care. You can't put a ladder on a wheelie chair. Whatever, man. Fuck you. If I want to die at work, that's my own prerogative.
If he dies,
Liberals.
he dies.
So anyway, yeah, I don't think we should defund OSHA.
No.
Also, at this point, that's not going to stop it, because, like, when you're going to defund OSHA, that doesn't mean that their current rulings don't fall into place still. Like, they have the guidelines established.
Then they wouldn't be able to enforce them, you see.
Well, I mean, it's like a self-enforcement policy
It
in
is.
most places. OSHA doesn't really stop by. It's more of like a workplace, like it's built around being able to stop your employer from telling you to do something that's unsafe.
Mhm.
I did see a thing, though, where people were talking about how you're more likely to die from getting the vaccine than anything else. And I'm like, no, that's not true.
That
seems
not even
about right.
remotely true.
That's like the new rhetoric, because people are like, yeah, it's going to kill you. Why? Why do you think that?
Well,
That
why
doesn't
would
make
you
any
lie?
sense.
I would love to know what numbers they had to pull through
None. Are you kidding me?
to try and get anything that they could even pretend supports that information. You know?
Oh, there are no numbers. It's just conjecture.
Exactly. Oh my
Because as soon
gosh.
as you bring in numbers in, it becomes impossible to defend a stupid viewpoint like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I very much enjoy whenever like you get I've been seeing them lately, at least. I don't know about you guys, but oh man, why is it when people on the left want to prove a point, they just start citing facts at you, like they know we can't do that, and I'm like, bruh.
That has to be a joke.
Or they always ask you to cite your sources.
That's got to be a joke.
That has to be a joke. I'm choosing to
want to-
believe that that's a joke.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would like to believe
Although
that's a
I've
joke.
seen funnier things from Flat Earth. Do we say his name on the podcast or not? I don't remember.
I think we tend to just call him our flat Earth friend.
Yeah,
if
Flat
it's-
Earth friend.
If it slips
I
through
am very
before,
split on
yeah.
wanting to get him on an episode.
Right.
I feel like
Because
we
like I
shouldn't,
don't
because it-
actually want to talk to him, but like he says the darndest things.
He really does.
And it's so funny. Like, how are you that dumb, man?
That's the thing. I don't want to bring people on the podcast if like our whole purpose for wanting them on is because we think they're ridiculous and we kind of want to make fun of them. I don't think it's a good reason.
Yeah, it's kind of mean, but also like
If it's gonna be somebody,
he's really dumb.
Yeah.
Like I just want you to understand that this guy is like
box of rocks.
so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Just incredibly. And it's just like it's not right to bring someone on to make fun of them. It's also not really a good idea to bring someone on who has like very vitriolic and problematic opinions in some areas.
That's
Agreed.
kind of also
Um,
what I was thinking, where it's like I
but
would
again, though-
love to just talk to him about what he believes, but I also, while I know, I'm even going to say 99.9% of people who will ever listen to this podcast will all agree, yeah, man, that's a little crazy. I still don't want that 0.1% to be like, actually, Flat Earth guy, he's got some good points. I mean, like, what if the Nephilim are the ones that are actually, there's no aliens, it's actually demons? What if, man?
I mean, to be fair, that's not that. Believing there's no aliens, there's just demons. I'm not gonna lie, that's not that bad.
That's not one of the more damaging opinions he has.
It's weird, but like I also think it's kind of weird when people are really into aliens being real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the same as when people are really into ghosts being real, where it's kind of like, okay, and like when people are like, "There's ghosts that are in my house." I'm like, so what do they do? Oh, they open the door. Are you sure there's not like a low pressure system? Also, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Kill you? They're gonna be the first ghost that ever murders somebody? Like, just
Man,
calm
that's
down.
that's my thing, right? I'm super fascinated by the idea of like ghosts just vibing, dude. Like ghosts just out there trying to vibe. Like what? Why would they try to like? What benefit do they gain out of being just bitter and spiteful?
Well, also, like, what benefit do they gain from not being bitter and
I mean, that's fair.
spiteful? Like, if you like murder someone and they come back as a ghost, yeah, I'd kill your ass.
Yeah,
Fuck
that's fair.
you. So like it just doesn't really add up. And then just also what defines what gets to be a ghost? Like at what point of the
correct.
development of consciousness does something live on to the afterlife? Because if everything lives on to the afterlife, there wouldn't be no such thing as like ghosts that could do anything at all, because the entire planet would be so densely covered in mosquitoes that nothing could move or conceptualize. You would be in an eternal hell if everything got a soul. So if only some things get a soul, where do we draw the line? Does a dog get one? Maybe. Does a person? Apparently. And at what point did people get one? Who was the first person to die and all of a sudden come back because they had a soul?
Mm-hmm.
I do love this.
It just doesn't, like, the critical arguments behind the existence of ghosts don't really add up. And if it is just people who, like, only some people come back as ghosts, why? Unfinished business? Nobody has all their business finished. Are you fucking kidding me? You think that only people with big... And everyone's got big things that they never got to do. That's the whole point of existence, especially under our current, like, capitalist system. No one gets to do any of the shit they want to. So, like, ghosts, I'm firmly in the camp that they're either not real or they're unable to do anything. And either way, it doesn't bother or matter to me. But also, when people believe in ghosts, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think that's their right. Like, yeah. Because, again, what does it matter to me?
Yeah.
I just have, like, I think there are reasons not to, and I'll voice them if someone asks, or in the instance of, like, you know, on the podcast, because I gotta have something to talk about. But, like, yeah, I don't think we should attack people who believe in ghosts.
No.
Let the ghosts attack them.
Let the ghosts attack them. Let
Same with,
ghosts
like,
defend
aliens. When
themselves.
people are like, I know aliens are real. They visit here all the time. I'm like, and they don't leave you, like, a nice little, like, present. They don't give you a message. They just kind of torment you when you're asleep. That's fucked up. But also, sure, maybe.
It's fucked
What
up,
does
but
it,
also
what does it
very funny.
matter? Yeah, like what? Okay, so like you're giving me this thing about like ghosts come in your sleep, or aliens come in your sleep, and they like take you away and they mess with you, or you see them at night, but no one else ever has proof of it. Okay,
Yeah.
you invented Bigfoot from high up. Like, okay,
Yeah. I think
that's my aliens take.
I think I agree with this alien take. I won't lie. I think
But I
that's...
also really like media about ghosts and aliens. I think those are a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's that suspension of disbelief, and like the idea of like I don't have to be like, oh, actually, there's no way an alien would come to the planet and then be killed by water. Like, I don't care. Mel
Yeah.
Gibson baseball bat mode. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Aliens can just be bad at things. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes aliens are fucking stupid. We are too.
True. Some of us more than others. Noah.
Damn, Noah's the only sane one here.
I mean, he hangs out with us.
That is true.
If
It's more
nothing
of a
else, that's
pity
at least a
thing,
cause
though.
for concern.
By the way,
No, it's more of a pity thing, which makes it cool.
did you know that Flat Earth drives for Grubhub?
I did.
I only just found that out now because I was scrolling through
of
his
his
feed
Facebook
just to
post?
see what he's up to. And
Yeah.
he's like, Grubhub drivers see how much you tip before they accept your order and they act accordingly. And I'm like, what?
I think the fact that our flat Earth friend is literally out here like tip your waiters and your delivery drivers. I'm like, you know, sometimes he's right.
Sometimes he's
Yeah,
got a
honestly.
point. No, absolutely. You should always tip every service worker that you come in contact
Sometimes the flat Earth guy be spitting. Sometimes he tells you that aliens from other planets don't exist because other planets don't exist, and other times he tells you to make sure to be generous with the people who are working in the service industry.
Man, it is something special that he says other planets don't exist.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
That's a great take.
By far my favorite take.
Because it's just like, oh, you think that like, oh, really what's coming from outer space is like Nephilim, and they're like trying to deceive you into an existence of aliens to turn you away from God. You know, a bit self-fulfilling prophecy, but also, yeah, sure, why not? Weird take, but I mean, you already believe you're going to heaven or hell, so it's kind of like, you might as well double down. Angels are coming from the sky. Half angels, and they're evil. That's fine. But when you're like, yeah, no, they're not actually coming from the sky. Want to know why? There is no sky. Like, oh,
Suddenly, it's an
that's
interesting
weird,
take.
man.
It's such a strong take to have about
it's
an
like the
objectively
Giants.
unimportant thing. Have you ever heard about
Oh,
the
yeah,
people
it's-
that think that the world is covered, like mountains are giant tree stumps?
That
Yeah,
sounds so
that-
rad.
That's him. He thinks that not only mountains are giant tree stumps, but oftentimes mountains are made of, they're actually deteriorated old buildings. Slash the corpses of giants that lived before us.
I was gonna say
That
it's
sounds
either
so
a
fucking-
giant corpse,
I wish
a
that was true.
melted building, or a giant tree stump. And
The
it's
melted
like,
buildings is my favorite because they're like, yeah, mountains are melted buildings of a civilization. I'm like, okay, so not only was there a civilization so big that they lived in mountains, also there's only a couple of them. Like, you're telling me that most of the world wasn't covered in mountains and these people were big enough to live inside of a single mountain? You're telling me the Appalachians were single-family homes, so there's only like a handful of these giant people, but they were also able to develop technology strong enough to melt mountains and also wipe themselves out.
Again,
and we were
not
able
gonna lie,
to
that sounds fucking rad.
prosper on the earth. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool, but it doesn't make any sense. And also, like, we just know that that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, we be mining and shit.
Mhm.
We do be mining and shit.
Yeah, the mountains or melted buildings is beautiful.
It is. It's a gift. I love things that are like, yeah, no, like here there was giants and now they're all gone and don't worry about it.
Well, no, we found their bones, but everyone's too scared to look at them. Everyone's too scared to do archaeological digs, so they just pretend they're rocks and break them and get rid of them. Because for whatever reason, the government doesn't want us to know about a giant civilization that existed before ours, because it would make you believe in God.
I mean, to be fair, absolutely would. It would absolutely work instantly.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, listen.
I'm a little bummed out. I'm not gonna lie. His feed is a lot less insane than it used to be. Which
Yeah, he really toned it down. I don't even know if he believes in the flat Earth anymore, because he used to be so vocal about it, and now he doesn't even like talk about it. He hasn't in a long time. I think he may have quietly given up on believing in that because he realized it made no sense, but didn't want to like sacrifice his pride, so he just didn't say anything.
Understandable.
Also, in fairness to him, COVID did kind of shake up what he had to talk about.
That's true.
Because I really do believe that he has always landed in the camp of, while he believed in flat Earth, it was nothing worth really arguing about in a greater scheme of things when he could argue about the government.
Yeah, he did oftentimes, he was very willing to put it on the back burner
Mm-hmm.
and just be like, hey, that is one thing, but the most important thing is loving Jesus. And it's kind of like, well, weirdly wholesome that you believe so strongly in the flat Earth, but you're also willing to let your friends believe what they want in order to reach a greater understanding of one another.
Yeah, I support it.
And like, you know, he's insane, but in like an almost wholesome way. Again, I don't want to have him on the show because I know like my idea of him being anything other than a piece of shit would get completely shattered in moments.
That's the problem, right?
Because like I know he would go on and be like, yeah, and then say something like incredibly out of taste and offensive, and I'd be like, yeah,
no,
all right, well.
And
we
honestly,
tried.
that's even
So-
like assuming he even would actually come on, because I don't know how he would
Podcast
feel
or the Devil's
about.
Plaything.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't know how he would feel about his voice being preserved online.
No, he like posts singing videos all the time, or used to.
But that's different than voicing his opinion.
Oh,
Like,
that's true. Yeah,
you know,
because those
'cause-
are just like him singing songs.
Exactly.
And
There
like,
is
no one's gonna get
plausible
mad at you for playing a Bob
deniability.
Dylan cover.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess not. Best not to dwell on things that will never be, though, right?
True. I don't know. I have very weird feelings about you guys' flat Earth friend, who I like. I don't know. On one hand, fascinating, like so fascinating. On the other hand, yikes. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. That's flat Earth, baby.
That's a flat Earth.
The real flat Earth was the friends we made along the way.
The real flat Earth was inside us the whole time.
No, that was the aliens probe.
Yeah.
But
The
actually, it was the
demon.
Nephilim's probe. My bad. I honestly will never get over the image of the aliens from other planets don't exist. Because it's so fucking stupid. Like, I just can't get over it.
It's so funny.
To just be like, no, other planets aren't real either.
I'm a
it's
huge
just-
fan of
it's
the
incredible.
fact that he shared the original things, and it was supposed to be aliens talking to you. And it's like, you think we're aliens, but we're not. We're actually interdimensional demons.
Yeah,
It's
that one
like-
was good too. Oh, the aliens said that?
Yeah, they're like, we're not demons. We're not aliens. We're interdimensional demons. Then there's you drop a couple Bible verses where demons, I guess, might have been like described. I guess at some point. I don't know. I don't.
But they're
remember
never
that.
from the actual Bible. They're always like yeah, from the book of the bee, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's like, in the book of Enoch, where Enoch went into space.
Man,
It's not in the Bible
as soon
because
as
they don't
someone
want you to
says-
know.
Like, as soon as someone says the Book of Enoch, I just know they watched, like, one too many Dan Brown movies, and, like, they really don't have much in terms of hobbies outside of their faith. Because, like, the Book of Enoch, like, come on, man. That's not even in there anymore. That one was the church was like, actually, this one's kind of bullshit. Someone
Mhm.
gave this to us.
So okay, this is on me.
It's just hilarious that that's where like the term canon even comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like just the fact that like the church was like, no more Book of Enoch. It's just not canon. Hilarious.
Is the Bible an Undertale?
No.
Okay.
I feel like putting any religion into that conversation, it's just shaky ground. Personal opinion.
Yeah, I think because of my personal beliefs, I'm kind of the opinion that every religion is an Undertale, but that's also something that's like kind of shitty to hold that actual opinion.
Mhm.
So like I don't want to categorize someone's like ultimate faith in the same category as like that video game that annoys me when people talk to me about the fish lady.
That's fair.
Because that's kind of that's kind of reductive and it does diminish the actual faith of people.
That's fair.
If someone tells me Undertale is a religion, though, that's too bad. It's an Undertale. And also, that's kind of a tacky statement.
Yeah, it's not a good take. Fair enough. Fair enough. I was just curious where that landed. Y'all.
You guys ready for Pokemon
ahead.
remakes?
What is it?
You guys ready for the Pokemon Gen 4 remakes?
Oh, that's right. That is coming up, isn't it?
Yeah.
As is, I mean, you won't care about this, Jackson, but as is Star Wars remakes.
I've heard.
I'm Hot Boy Thor.
Interesting.
in
I don't
God
know
of
that
War.
one. Oh,
It's
that's
Thick
right.
Thor.
Thick
That'd be
Thor.
Thick
Thick Thor. I am a huge fan of all the things coming except Pokemon. Pokemon, I'm just not as familiar with.
Well, and
That's how I feel like God of War.
That's
well,
fair.
I
I
was
played
gonna
the
say
first two.
I do very much feel like because like it's such a weird place for me as far as remakes go, because on one hand, right,
Are you talking about
make a new
KOTOR right
game,
now?
you fucking hacks, right?
You are talking about KOTOR.
I am talking about KOTOR. I also am kind of talking about Pokemon.
What's the take here?
Just like on one hand, I'd rather see a new game be made than see a remake or a remaster. On the other hand, I think that remakes are just a much better version than like it's much more interesting to me to see a remake be made than to see something be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're remastering whatever the fuck.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like that is honestly more towards Star Wars than Pokemon, if you ask me, because I think the remakes are kind of a mainstay.
Interesting.
Like every generation's had a remake for the last 15, 20 years. Like Gen 3 had the Gen 1 remake in it, so like Fire Red Leaf Green, which are iconic in their own right. Then you got Gen 4, which was your remake of actually I guess Gen 5 didn't. But you had Gen 4, which was your Diamond Platinum Pearl, and then that had the remake of Gen 2, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which is like considered by a lot of people to be like one of the best made games in the Pokemon franchise.
So explain to me
and
how
then-
the remakes work for Pokemon, because maybe I'm misunderstanding how the remakes are functionally like created.
I mean, basically what they do is they just make the game again, pretty much, only with the standards that are in the newer games. So like for Gen 4, they remade Gen 2, which was Gold and Silver, but they did it with like what was existing in Gen 4, and they also added some other cool stuff, like your Pokemon following you around all the time. That was really cool. And they also added the things that existed in the new games that didn't previously, like abilities, like special and physical damage being separate and not tied to typing. And they also just made like the actual gameplay better. And then in the post game, so after you beat it, then you can get Pokemon from like the games that existed afterwards. So you could, in theory, start the game and have your friend trade you like a Chimchar, and then you could play with a Gen 4 Pokemon in the Gen 2 game. So it had like a lot of backwards compatibility in that. And then they kind of went on to do similar things in like the Gen 3 remake, which came out with Gen 6. So that was on the 3DS. They basically just made the Hoenn region from the ground up in like 3D and added all the features and like the typings and the mega evolutions.
Interesting. Because
So they just
I get okay. That is so. Yes, that is what I thought it was, and it's weird to me that you wouldn't be like, well, I'd rather just see a new game. Like I'd rather I don't know.
they put out a game pretty much every year, and if
That's
they would
true.
put out a new game every year, it would
That's true.
suck ass.
That's true.
Which is what they tried to do before. But like, so it gives them an easier way to put out like a game, and then they can just do a remake for the next year, and then the next year they put out another game.
An actual full game.
That way
Okay,
it
that
keeps
makes
you
more
from
sense.
getting into a position where like, if they had put out a game every year and not done any remakes,
Mhm.
we would be on like Gen 12 or 13, and I feel like a lot of things would have changed really quickly, and there'd be no opportunities to go back and experience those new things with older generation and have like older experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. See, that makes much more sense. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's just because there is so many games and they are coming out so consistently, it's nice to have a throwback and then a step forward and then when they take the step forward, they can get feedback on it and then come back and change that in the remake. So the remakes end up being like a more realized version on the newer console, and they can take that and then they can actually take a step forward with that. So that's how you get from like Gen 6 to Gen 7. Although the Gen 3 remakes I think were kind of weak, and the fact that they just got rid of Mega Evolution sucks. But yeah, the Gen 4
didn't
remakes
they
look cool.
replace Mega Evolutions with fucking whatever the fuck?
A couple different things. First, it was Z moves in Gen 7, which were butt. And then they did Dynamaxing in Gen 8, which also sucked because you couldn't. Like, there was Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing, and only certain Pokemon could Gigantamax, most of them being Gen 1 Pokemon, and not every Pokemon of that breed could Gigantamax. You had to specially catch it. So, like, it literally just made it so at the end of the game, you would pretty much throw out all of your Pokemon, catch new ones that could use the Super Form, and do that. Or you would just do what most people did and just not use that mechanic.
Fair enough.
And then they tried to fix it in the DLC, but I don't really know anyone that bought the DLC. So
Fair enough.
yeah, Gen 4 remake seemed cool. I think that region was really really fun, and it's gonna be nice to go back to it and be able to like customize fashion. Fashion in Pokemon was like the thing that it needed from the start. So cool. I love being able to put on a different hat.
Hats are important though. I feel
I think
like
character customization in Pokemon has been like really cool, just because you no longer are confined to like a single race or hair color or style choice. You can just kind of be yourself, and I think that's cool. I think like the next logical step would just be removing the selection of gender and instead just doing kind of like what honestly most RPG characters do, which is just like any character can pick anything and you can just do whatever you want. So like if you want to just be like a cis man, you just can, but you don't have to, and like it's not like only like a gender binary that you're locked into from like the select screen at the beginning of the game.
yeah.
But I think that's also like that's not something that I think Japan is not necessarily as far ahead in terms of those kind of issues as some other parts of the world are. Not even necessarily the U.S., but like
just other parts of the
so
world.
I think in
yeah.
general, I think specifically in Japan and also in the U.S., there'd be a lot of pushback if like in a kids game they didn't have a gender binary, because God forbid.
Yeah, of course.
Which honestly,
God forbid your boy character could wear a dress potentially if you wanted them to.
it's one of those
In a
things
game
that
where you
weirds me
catch
out,
Pokemon.
where it's because like Link has always been like super non-binary as a character. Everyone just kind of acknowledges it. Oh yeah, Link boy. And
Yeah.
but then there's like a lot of non-binary people who are like, yeah, actually I projected onto Link really heavily because Link just was kind of there vibing and that was really helpful for me. And it's like, yeah, okay. That makes sense actually. I feel that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it'd be really cool to add a little more depth to character customization at the same time removing like some harmful standards of the industry. But we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to happen in the remakes because the remakes have more grounds than any others to be like, well, we have to use the same character sprites initially. Which even that they did actually relent to changing, so that's huge. Because like in the Gen 3 remakes, they were like, yeah, we know fashion is in the games now, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just not going to allow fashion, because in the originals, they didn't have the choice. And you're like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
It kinda
kills
sucks
the
a
point
lot.
of an entire full remake, but whatever.
Yeah, I think the Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be good. They seem like they're pretty true to form, which might be a little bit more boring than I'd like, but we'll see. I'm just excited for like the added typings and like evolutions and the added Pokemon. So like, I think the most fun about it all is just the ability to replay it and trade things in that wouldn't be normally ever accessible. Like it's really cool to be able to play through the game and be like, yeah, start me off with a Litten, and then you can just transfer that in and you can just have like a starter that would never have been available, and it just completely like reframes the entire game.
That is fun.
Also like and that's also like with the addition of the fairy typing kind of did as well, is like now you've got all these Pokemon that were just normal or like flying normal or you know, any number of combinations but not fairy, and now they also have the fairy typing added in, so it makes a lot of battles work completely differently than they would have otherwise.
Yeah.
And we'll I'm curious as to if they're going to use any kind of like Dynamaxing or anything like that, or Mega Evolution, which I don't think so, but who knows? I wouldn't complain.
Very exciting.
But yeah, that's coming out soon.
How soon is soon? Just out if you happen
Like 2
to know.
months.
2 months? That's not too bad.
November.
Are you
Not at all.
gonna
Yeah.
are you gonna pull a resurrect your stream just to play through once thing again?
Probably not.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I just know
And
it's not unheard
then
of, so I figured, you know.
yeah, I mean maybe we'll see. We'll see what else I got going on at the time. And then what else was it? Oh yeah, Metroid Dread is also coming out, and that's very exciting.
That is exciting.
Any relation
'Cause I
to
don't know if you guys are
Judge Dredd?
familiar. Yeah, best friends.
Oh, nice.
Um,
It's nice to see them have
not
friends.
related, but like yeah, they're just friends. Um,
They were roommates.
it's a different spelling, so it's kind of like it's just more of a coincidence over anything that they hang out.
hmm
But yeah, that game, I don't know if you're familiar, but that actually started as that was announced like 20 years ago on accident.
Oh, you gotta love
Like
those.
literally, it was one of those things where I don't know who it was, but like GameStop or somebody like that had listed Metroid Dread as like releasing.
Oh my god, I remember this.
Yeah, in like 2000.
I remember that. Yeah.
I don't think I ever heard
You
about
were
that.
like 4. These are like 5.
No, but I do remember Metroid Dread being a thing that people were talking about. Like,
It was like a lost. Everyone was like, "Oh, it exists." They almost had the game, but then because of the leaks, they canceled it.
mhm.
And like it was never formally announced, and like people were like, "Oh, but the full game exists somewhere." It totally didn't. It was like there was partial development, and then they were like, "Yeah, we can't really do this on." I think it was the DS or a Game Boy, whatever they were developing on. They were like, "Yeah, this isn't really working," and then they ended up like just kind of canning it. And then when the Switch came out, they were like, "Ah."
I was gonna say, much like
And
with
now here
many
we are.
Nintendo properties, they decided to, hey, what if we just never did anything with this ever again?
Well, they decided they're like, oh, well, we want this to be a handheld game, but like it does not work on a handheld, and like it just doesn't look right, and it doesn't like there's not enough capacity for it,
Mhm.
and because it was like a 2D side scroller, Nintendo wasn't about to be like, yeah, put it on the GameCube.
hmm
Yeah.
Even though
'Cause
because it
they have
was
a history of-
Metroid, they would have absolutely killed with it.
Well, they went with Metroid Prime, which I can't really call that a mistake, but yeah, they just kind of got pushed to the side because it was at the time period when no one was really putting it out on 2D, or not one was putting out like a side scroller on your new console. Like the Wii wasn't about to launch with Metroid Dread.
No.
It just wasn't really what they were looking for.
Mhm.
So then when the Switch came out, they were like, ah, shit, remember that thing we canned 15 years ago? Dredge it up.
Yeah,
We're making
bring
it.
it back.
I mean, not for nothing. Samus's inclusion in Smash Bros. Definitely has to help with that, right?
I
Well, I
have
mean,
to assume.
Samus was actually in the original Smash Bros. And it's just
No,
no, I know,
one of the
but,
like-
characters.
But that's what I'm thinking. I think that if it weren't for Samus and Smash Bros, I am 100% certain that all caring about Metroid would have died out a long time ago. There would still be the hardcore fans that would be like, "Oh
Yeah, I think
you and your Hollow Knights, you think you're having fun, but that's nothing on a true you know why they call it a Metroidvania, right?" Like that kind of attitude.
no idea. I could not possibly glean what games those come from.
It's so wild.
Well,
It's
Shovel
so
Knight?
crazy that you just don't know. He doesn't know, dude.
I think
Can't
it's a
believe
Shovel
it.
Knight reference. I don't know.
Fuck, how'd you know?
I game a little bit.
I was ready to go off about this, and then you just knew it was Shovel Knight out of nowhere. This is bogus.
can I say?
Quit.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be really fun, and I'm probably gonna pick it up and then do what I do with every Metroid game, which is beat 2/3 of it.
Yo, what a move, my dude.
Yeah.
That's like the classic Metroid though. Like most people don't really beat them because maybe it'll be better with Dread, but like I remember playing Metroid before like the internet. At least before the internet for me.
Yeah.
Because in my house we didn't get the internet until like 2012, 2013.
Mhm.
Like I was in high school. But like I remember trying to play Metroid Prime and just being like, this is the fuckiest game I've ever played. Where do I go? It makes no sense. And then like I just had no way of finding out where to go.
Yeah.
And it just kind of I was like, well, fuck it. And I just like quit and then would restart and be like, oh man, the first couple hours of this game are so fun. And then I would
Why did
restart
I
and be
ever
like, man,
quit?
the first couple hours of this game are so fun. And I would just do that over and over again. It
Yeah.
was a sad time.
I had that issue with Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess in a couple different spots. But that was because I got way too in my own head and was convinced that there was a secret where there was not a secret.
I'm honestly a little bit worried about like Metroid Dread because I feel like I might get it and then just like actually beat it and like enjoy it, which just kind of worries me because I'm not used to that experience with a Metroid game. I'm used to wasting money and being halfway satisfied and then forcing myself to tell everyone I love it. So like, what if I actually just like it?
What does it say
Big
about
if
you,
true.
really?
Well, it says more about just like what it was like playing any game that was more than 5 years old in middle and high school. Because if you didn't like it, people would tell you that their older brother was gonna beat you up.
That's true.
Not literally, but like you know what I mean. It was very much like oh, everyone likes this. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm 8, yeah. So it's like, yeah, no, I like Metroid too. And then I would go home and play it and be like, this is pretty fun, but I'm not good at it and it's hard. Whereas now I've beaten many very difficult Metroidvanias. I've even beaten hard bosses in Hollow Knight.
Damn.
107%.
I know you're a fake
I think
fan
it's higher
because
now.
it's 106%
Isn't it
is the
112 now?
highest. Shush.
Oh, that's what it is.
No,
yeah.
yeah, it is 112.
It's higher now, yeah, but I don't have I never played the final DLC.
I mean, if you like boss rush, God Home's fun, but like
Eh.
if you're not a boss rush guy, then it's got nothing for you.
Yeah, I might at some point in my life play it, but
A lot of
I beat
people,
the Roly Poly Knights, and those are the hardest boss in any video game ever.
they are so annoying.
I just don't get it. I don't get why they're hard. Like, everyone's like, yeah, man, when you beat Nightmare King Grim, you'll understand. No, dude, I beat Nightmare King Grim on like the 12th try, probably, because once you beat the first one, the move patterns are very, very similar, just slightly sped up.
Yeah.
So you just to change your rhythm, but it's almost identical. It is harder, but like you can make it happen, especially if like you're just a little bit persistent and you try and like, take your time, like mini boss fights. But the Roly Poly lads, you're just fucked. Your shit's fucked. They're too good.
It's one of those things where like I got good at them when I was doing my little like speed run attempt. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't bad at the Washer Knights, but like man, they were miserable. I hated learning how to actually try to be good at them. It was not a fun time.
Yeah, I agree.
I know
Someday I'll play through that game.
there was some discourse about this, and I'd kind of like your opinions on it. That there were people who were angry that the true ending for Hollow Knight was locked behind beating an incredibly difficult section in the God Home DLC. Like, generally regarded, this is the official true ending of Hollow Knight, but you can only get it if you manage to beat all 5 of the Pantheons in God Home.
I mean, so
And-
the video game story is
Well,
locked behind.
Well, that's the
Content.
thing, is there's a lot of very casual Hollow Knight fans, and Pantheon 5 is not for casual fans. It is stepped up bosses and stuff like that. It's like distinctly difficult. And the
Yeah.
final boss is an incredibly difficult version of the game's ultimate boss. Like everything got stepped up for it. And there's a lot of people who are like, they need to, like, it's dumb that they locked the like good ending, the true ending, the real ending is locked behind like the most difficult ordeal that they have in the game. And I don't know, it's one of those things where if it was something that actually like affected Silksong at all, then I'd be a little pissed, right?
Also, can't you turn off the DLCs? Like, you don't have to play with them on.
Oh no, you don't have to. Like,
so like
I
you can
finished
still get the true ending if you just turn off the newest DLC and then
No.
just
no, because
Why
it's
not?
the DLC ending is the true ending. It's a different ending.
yeah. But if you're playing on like a previously patched version of the game, wouldn't there be the true ending still?
No,
No,
because
did
that
it
was
just not
just that was
It
just
added
the
a new
ending.
ending.
Yeah, it was a
Well,
brand
there
new
were several
ending.
endings.
Yeah, but this is the one regarded as this is the correct ending. This is the like you have to take the God Seeker, one of the gray flowers, which is a whole ordeal by itself because you have to get the flower through the sewer undamaged. And then you have to beat Pantheon 5. And then when the game ends, that's like the right ending. It's the only ending that everything ends properly in many people's opinions.
But
But
is
it's
it the flower that you do from the mask shard?
Hmm?
Is it the flower that you do from the mask shard?
yeah, you can deliver more of
Oh,
those
that one
flowers.
sucked. That sucked, but it also like was kind of cheesable, honestly.
There
It just took a long time. You had to do like get little spider boys, and they would take care of everything, and you just had to stand still for a little while.
That's true. They would take care of it for you if you wanted them to.
But it was definitely a lazy way to do it, but it's what I did.
Hey, sometimes you have to win, right?
Yeah,
thing-
exactly.
The thing I think of is Isaac, right? Like Isaac has a story and has actually a very like in my opinion very interesting story and told in a relatively unique way. You don't get anywhere near any of the endings until you beat the final boss of the final DLC. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's I don't know. To me, that's just the game. Like,
Yeah, I think getting the endings is only important if you want to get the endings, and if you want to get the endings, you got to be prepared to do whatever it takes.
yeah, and if you're not, just go look them up on YouTube. Somebody has posted
Yeah.
it somewhere. Like, it's not
If
that
you're
deep.
mad you can't get the true Hollow Knight ending because you're casual at playing the game, that's understandable, but you also got to be like, yeah, well, maybe I shouldn't have picked up a game that's known for rewarding people who play it intensely.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was
Like,
thinking
that's
too.
your.
Because
Yeah.
if it's something where, like, to go back to Hollow Knight, if the true ending of Hollow Knight really actually affects Silk Song, like you have to import your a save file and it changes how the game is in a big way, then I think it's
That'd be
kind of
weird.
shitty that that would happen. But it also
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
never happens.
exactly, and it
annoying.
wouldn't make sense. But if it's just
It's probably
something
more of a, it's what's canon.
and if it's just something that you want to have the if you want to have the personal pride of having gotten the achievement, well then it's work. It's work and it sucks, but it's work.
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
know.
Get good, scrub. Like,
Like I would I would
Yeah.
love to have that like achievement unlocked on my account for Hollow Knight. I think that would be neat. But I'm also just happy with having completed the game in like 2 hours and like under 2.5 hours. That's just fun
Yeah,
to me.
sometimes you got to take your own victories and you got to choose what like is going to be considered like the end game for you.
Mhm.
Like Hades is one of those games that I've unlocked all of the achievements of it and I've gotten the true ending, if you will,
Mhm.
which is another thing kind of like Isaac because it's a roguelike. You've got to beat the game literally 100 times
Mhm.
Yeah.
to get the true ending, and that's fine. That's the nature of the game. If you don't care that much about it, if you don't want to like develop the relationships in the game and you don't want to get the true ending, there's no reason to force yourself to.
yeah, exactly. And
But
well,
if
and
you
it's
want to, it's just a matter of persistence.
and Hades is one of those games where they want you to get to this true ending, right? Like Hades actively, like there's hero mode where it's just, hey, I really want to get through to the true ending of this game. I'm gonna play
Yeah.
it on easy mode essentially, and it doesn't affect your achievements. It literally doesn't affect anything. It just makes the game easier, which I think is very cool.
Yeah,
I think it's a good way to do it.
I can concur. I also will agree that it's probably time to call this to wrap this one up because we are.
Well, we're
It's been
getting
it's
up
been
there.
a while.
It's man.
Well,
We're doing two different songs, but I respect it.
I respect it. Also, I respect you. I may
aw.
not like you, but god damn it, do I respect you?
Well, I'm glad to know that only goes one way.
Got him,
Wow.
dude. I can't believe you fucking got me like that. That's honestly embarrassing for me.
You know what else is embarrassing?
Mm.
What? Oh, are we ending the episode like that?